What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our TBU Week 4 match versus Esquilo. His YouTube will be in the description below. Check him out. He did a live comm of our battle, actually, so if you're into those, you can definitely check that out. But just to get into team preview, he has his Galvantula, Excadrill, regular Metacham, Charizard Y for Alligator, and his Tyranitar. So he's brought the Sand offense. It looks like he's brought Webs as well. He's brought the Megazard Y. He's got a lot of immediate offense. Everything on his team hits very hard from the start, and things like Feraligatr and T-Tar have possibilities to set up and even hit even harder, boost their speed and whatnot. And I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team. However, we are bringing on our side the Life Orb offensive Scolipede, the Timid Mega Blastoise, the Violite physically defensive Gligar, our offensive Colba Berry Virizion, our Expert Belt Kyurem Black, and our specially defensive Cresselia. So, a little bit of background information on this match. Quill actually did not know that I pulled Virizion off my bench, and that's partly my fault. I mean, it's largely my fault, because after the announcement was done, I did not update my sheet and put Virizion on my team and Albino on the bench. It was put into the update chat, but unfortunately he did not see the update and missed the update that occurred in the chat. But it's still partially my fault because I did not update my sheet, and that's where he went to team build, obviously. Like, he goes to my team sheet, sees Virizion on the bench, he's like, okay, don't gotta worry about it, gotta prep for everything else, and yeah. So, my fault. I don't know how much it mattered exactly. Like, maybe he could have brought Chestnut instead, but I deal with Chestnut very well with my team anyway, and I do have Aerial Ace on Virizion anyway. And regardless, like, I noticed from the get-go, his team had no good switch into Virizion anyway. So really the only thing I could see him maybe doing differently was more speed on Galvantula to possibly speed tie with it. Maybe like a Chople Berry on T-Tar or something like that, but regardless, it does suck for him because this is this is a whole surprise game. Like, he did not see a Virizion coming because he didn't think it was legal for me to bring it, but it's here, and as expected, it has absolutely no switch in. And just kind of my thought process going off in this match, my best idea, I think, was to lead with Scolipede, because if he led with Galvantula to try and get up Webs, I can just fire off a Poison Jab as he does that, and then break its Sash, possibly knock it out if I get the Poison, but knock it out in 2 hits relatively easily. Like I said, he doesn't have great switchings to it. If he leads with Zard, I can bluff the Rock Slide, and I do have my special defensive Cresselia to switch into it anyway. So that is my thought process going in. I'm going to lead with my Scolipede. So let's get into the match. As you can see here, Squillo issuing the challenge, and I'm going to send out my Scolipede. Of course, this also is I could possibly be bluffing the lead hazard set, so I may not be too afraid on doing something crazy or something like that, so I'll get my house out of the way. But he's going to lead with this T-Tar. And first I'm going to go for Protect, because I don't think he's going to go for Rocks, because I'm a Scolipede, I can hit this thing with a Mega Horn, I can do a lot of damage to this, and he goes right for the Stone Edge, staying in. So I'm thinking, okay, he's either Scarfed, and now he's going to switch out. Maybe he tried to catch me on an overprediction, or just tried to catch me not thinking it was Scarfed or whatnot, or he's Tanga Berry. There's no other reason for him to stay in with his Tyranitar unless he's like fully physically defensive. There's absolutely no reason for him to stay in, so he's going to go for another Stone Edge here, confirming to me that he's more than likely Tanga Berry, or just max physical defense. But judging by that Stone Edge's damage, I'm thinking he's going to be offensive Tanga Berry, because that did a lot to my Virizion. And yeah, I'm almost 100% convinced he's Tanga Berry. There's no reason for him to stay in otherwise. So here, gonna fire off a close combat. He does not have great switch-ins to it. His best switch-in is his Galvantula, which still takes about 50% from this close combat, and after the sand damage, he will be under 50%, which is very nice for me. But here, close combat is not a guaranteed KO from this range, so I'm going to fire off a Stone Edge. Gonna reveal that I'm not choiced in anyway, which I think is okay. I didn't expect him to think I was Scarfed anyway. Just gonna go for the Stone Edge, get some chip damage off in the Metacham, which is nice, as well as the sand damage. And here, as you're gonna see, he takes sand damage first, so I automatically know that this thing is choice Scarfed, as I kind of thought it would be, but I was torn about this play, because I didn't want to stay in, because Virizion's a huge threat to his team, I couldn't risk it. I have the very safe switch into Cresselia, and I should have played this a little bit more aggressively because I'm going to go out into my Cresselia. Like I said, it takes on any form of Medicham. Like, it cannot 2 KO me with anything. It does barely any damage, but he reveals the trick. Now, I know that Medicham gets trick, but I also wasn't about to just hard switch into my Mega Blastoise and get 2 KO'd, because Blastoise is also huge this match. Like, if he just went straight up for a high jump kick, not wanting to over-predict anything, then Blastoise is getting 2 KO'd, and yeah, that just wasn't good for me. I could have gone Blastoise and then doubled out into Crest, but I just didn't want that damage on Blastoise. And here, he's going to gain some more momentum as I go for T-Wave on his Excadrill switch in, which is smart on his part because he can take any hit. I was hoping he might have gone into something like the, well, not entirely sure, but something other than Excadrill, because Excadrill can't do too much damage to me. But then he's going to make another good double and switch out into his Galvantula and reveal the HP Ice. Now, I knew I could take an HP Ice from this range, no matter what, bar him being Specs, which I doubt he would be. And I'd made this play, I stayed in and went for the Earthquake because if he hits me with the HP Ice, I'll live it, and I'll be able to knock out this Galvantula, and he will not be able to get webs up for the whole game. If he goes for his Sticky Web, I'll be able to knock out this Galvantula and then be able to spin it away later with my Mega Blastoise. So I'm thinking he's kind of I'm not necessarily thinking he's a Sash lead, but I figured he might be a Sash lead because obviously Sticky Web plus Sash is very helpful. But he reveals to be Life Orb, which is unfortunate because now my Gligar is essentially death fodder. I probably wouldn't do anything different if given the opportunity because I needed to make sure webs were not on my side of the field. Webs just really hindered things like my Virizion, my Kyurem Black, and I needed them to not be up this game. So maybe I could have switched out into something like Cresselia since it was already tricked to Choice Scarf, but then I don't have a switch into the Zard Y if that gets weakened, but regardless. Also, Galvantula outspeeds my Cresselia anyway, even though I am Choice Scarf, if he has Timid with enough speed to outspeed it, so there was that as well. But regardless, I'm going to switch into my Cresselia, my only kind of switch into this thing, and as you can see, he's going to go for Solar Beam. He doesn't want to miss Fire Blast, which I assume he has Fire Blast over Flamethrower, because he could have just gone for Flamethrower there. He had no real reason not to, because if Blastoise came in, he 2 KO'd me, but here's also kind of a bad play on my part. I go right for the Ice Beam, expecting his Excadrill to want to come in, or his Tyranitar even, and I want to get a little bit of damage on that. But it was just silly of me to do so. It's not going to do much damage to either anyway. I obviously can't get the freeze because the sun is up, so I'm going to pull a double out into my Blastoise in against this Feraligatr. I don't want this thing to start setting up, as he pulls a double out into his Medicham. And this is another kind of crappy situation for me, because I don't have a switch into this. And I'm glad I kept my Blastoise at full health for this moment, because I can at least get some damage off, or some very good damage off the Dragon Pulse, sack something, and then go out into something like my Kyurem to revenge kill it, or my Scolipede. So I'm just going to go for the Dragon Pulse to get damage. Can't go for Scald because the sun's up. And unfortunately for him, I get a crit. Now, if I were modest, that was a roll to knock him out. I believe it was like a 70% chance to knock him out, or a 30% chance to knock him out, but because I am timid, that crit absolutely mattered, and that really sucks for him, because there's, like, that crit 100% mattered. And yes, I could have sacked my Gligar, but it still absolutely sucks. I'm not entirely sure how much the crit mattered in the long run, but it sucks. Like, I can't, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It sucks that I was able to knock out his Medicham. I kept this around for death fodder, but anyway, a couple series events that I just talked over. I went in to sack my Gligar so I can get a free switch into something to knock out Zard, and he sets up a sub, which is definitely really good prep on his part, predicting probably to predict a Protect on my Scolipede at some point and go for sub and just be able to knock me out, because Zard Y behind a sub is scary as hell. But thankfully Sun is going to end, so I'm not going to be 2 KO'd except for the part where I get burned, so it doesn't really matter. But regardless, not a super huge deal. I'm going to be stacking this anyway. And I could have pulled a switch here. I really could have pulled a switch predicting the Tyranitar to come in. He knows I'm choice locked into Psychic. But what I was thinking was essentially he could go into T-Tar, or he could just know that he takes the Psychic easily and could knock me out with the next Fire Blast. So I didn't want to pull a switch into anything because nothing else takes the Fire Blast, even without the sun up. So here, I have no reason to switch out. Like, if he sets up rocks, I die on re-entry anyway. I don't want anything else taking a hit from this thing, and after this, I get a free switch into Virizion anyway. So yeah, there's that. So I'm just going to sack off my Cresselia, go for Psychic again on the T-Tar. Had he Dragon Danced up there, that would have been bad, although I think Verzion could have lived a hit. Probably not, Verzion's relatively low, but regardless, I can go out into my Verzion now, and I am just going to click Close Combat. It almost gets a kill. Like it 2 KOs this Feraligatr easily, it kills pretty much anything else. But as you can see, Feraligatr is going to take this hit, and the way he hard switched in his Feraligatr, I'm almost positive it's going to have Aqua Jet. Like, I don't think he would just willingly sack this off. Like, he definitely could have just willingly sacked this off, but I don't think he sacked it off for absolutely no reason. I think he's going to have the Aqua Jet. So, I'm going to go out into my Blastoise to sack it off. It's not doing a ton for the rest of the match. It could be nice, but I need things to sack, and even though Blastoise is useful, I think the other mons on my team are a little bit more useful. He reveals the Life Orb Aqua Jet, so I'm expecting this to be SD Jet for Alligator. Like, Swords Dance, Aqua Jet, maybe like Warfall, Crunch, maybe a nice punch on there, but regardless, yeah, that is what I'm going to do. And here is another very, very important part in the play, or part in the game, I should say. I'm going to go out into Scolipede. Didn't want to go... Now, here's an important thing that I want to note. I did not want to go into anything else on this Feraligatr. I can outspeed it, knock it out with Kyurem. I can deal with it with my Verzion. I can take an Aqua Jet, but with the Sand Up, both of those things bait in the Excadrill, and Excadrill at that point could just sweep me. Like, if it's a Life Orb Excadrill, like I'm expecting it to be, it can just go up in the sand, and the only way I can kill it is with a +2 Scolipede at this point. So I go for Poison Jab here. I know he probably he's going to go for Aqua Jet, but he does not, fearing my Protect so that I can stall out Sand Turns, which was not a bad play on his part, because if I did stall out more Sand Turns, then his win condition in Excadrill is getting kind of screwed over. Because also with Zard Y, every time he switches in Zard Y, he's getting the Sun Up, getting rid of the Sand, so it's going to be tough for him to do that regardless, but like I said, if I went into Kyurem Black and knocked this thing out, Excadrill comes in and kills me. I have to get a double protected Scolipede off to win. Kyurem, what's it called? The other thing on my team, Verzion, same thing. It outspeeds it, it kills me with Iron Head. And I have to go out into my unboosted Scolipede. So I had to go out into Scolipede to make sure that that Excadrill is kept out. So I was willing to take an Aqua Jet there. I wouldn't have appreciated it, but it was the play I had to make, essentially. So Sand's going to subside here anyway, so I'm dumb, I guess, but not really, I guess, because, well, kind of dumb, I guess. I should have been counting Sand Turns from earlier, so I'm not sure if it was possible because the sun was up. Like, I should have known he wasn't Smooth Rock, especially since I confirmed Tanga Berry, especially since he hard switches in his Tyranitar on my Scolipede. Like, it's definitely Tanga Berry at this point, so I'm actually going to go out into my Kyurem as a sack to the Stone Edge so that I can get a free switch into Verzion, but because Verzion gets 2 kills. If he knocks out my Kyurem Black, I go out into Verzion, click Close Combat to knock this thing out, or he goes out into a Charizard to sack that off, which would be silly, because then he gets the Sun Up, and I can kill that with Close Combat with Stone Edge, and then he has to go Tyranitar again, so his best play in that situation would be just to sack the Tyranitar off to Close Combat, but actually, he's then going to end up going for the Crunch, and as you can see, I'm able to live that very easily, and I can just, I'm going to live the Sandstorm as well. Not very easily, it's going to do decent damage, but I can live with the Sand, and this is the part that is very important, because he is going to go out and do his Charizard Y, and this is kind of bad for me, but it's also kind of okay, because I'm thinking, okay, well shit, I went for Earth Power, should have clicked Fusion Bolt, but whatever. He can kill me with the Fire Blast, and then I can go out into my Virizion, click Stone Edge. Because the Sand is not up, he'll then be forced to go out into his Tyranitar. And what I would do then on his Tyranitar is continuously click Stone Edge, because I don't want to kill his Tyranitar. Well, that's kind of tough. That's kind of a tough call for me to make, because I wanted to weaken his Tyranitar so that Scolipede can knock him out, but I also don't want to necessarily kill it. I want to get the kill with Scolipede, so that I can come in, protect, get a speed boost, knock out the T-Tar, get another speed boost off so that I outspeed the Excadrill and Sand in order to win. Otherwise, I just have to get a double protect versus the Excadrill, and that's, that's like a 30% chance for me, so that's not what I want to get my win off of, or that's not what I want to bank my win off of. But he's actually a modest Charizard Y, which means we are able to outspeed him and knock him out with the Fusion Bolt, which is really good for me, because now all he has left is his Tyranitar and Excadrill, and he has to go out into his Tyranitar. I outspeed the Excadrill in the sun. So as you can see here, he goes out into his Tyranitar, and I just click Earth Power here. I need damage on this so that Scolipede can knock it out later on. I end up getting another crit. Now this crit didn't matter as much because I'm fairly certain an Adamant Life Orb Earthquake from Scolipede would have been able to knock him out from where he was at anyway. I could be wrong about that, but without the crit, it would have done about 50%. I'm almost positive an Adamant Earthquake would have knocked him out, like I'm Adamant Life Orb Scolipede, so I don't think that mattered too much. But here, just going to make my safest play. If he went for Dragon Dance here, it didn't matter because I'd outspeed on the next turn anyway. If he went for Rock Polish, that would kind of suck, and I'd have to get a double Protect, but I didn't think he'd be set up with Rocks, so I just went for the safe Protect. And I also went for Protect here, just a little bit of piece of information. I went for Protect here on the Tyranitar because if he had Magnet Rise on his Excadrill, which would have been absolutely beautiful, I would essentially knock this out, get to +1, and then I'd have to Protect on the Excadrill the next turn in order to get my double speed boost in order to outspeed it. And if he clicked Magnet Rise there, granted I would not be super mad because that would be absolutely amazing, but I'd also lose the game. So I click Protect on this thing first. It doesn't matter what it does, I'll be able to knock it out afterwards anyway. So Adamant Life Orb Earthquake from the Scolipede is going to go off and knock out the Tyranitar. And now it all comes down to whether or not the Excadrill has a Balloon, or whether or not it has Shuca Berry, or if it's Sash, or something to live my Earthquake. So he's going to send out his Excadrill. I'm like, am I going to lose to Balloon 2 seasons in a row? No, we're going to go for the Earthquake. No Shuca Berry. This shouldn't be able to knock him out unless he's defensive. He goes down, and Scolipede is going to live the Life Orb on a tiny sliver of health, which is why him not going for Aqua Jet earlier was absolutely huge. So this was an absolutely incredible game. There were definitely mistakes on both parts. I should not have let my... It was a tough decision to make in the heat of the moment, but I should not have let my Gligar take as much damage as it did, because there was nothing I could really safely roost against except for a Medicham locked into High Jump Kick, and obviously at that point it wasn't locked in because it tricked my Cresselia. I probably should have just gone out into Cresselia knowing it could take a hit it with a Psychic, I can take Bug, maybe spin away later, but I was just really concerned with not having webs on my side of the field, and if he gone for webs there, that would have been great. If he was not Life Orb, he was Sash, I would have been able to roost up on the Tyranitar later on anyway, bar having, like, Ice Punch. Actually, even if it had Ice Punch, I believe my Gligar actually outsped his T-Tar, which would have been really cool. But, yeah, that was just... So those were definitely the mistakes on my end, as well as some others. He definitely should have Aqua Jetted my Scolipede. I'm not 100% sure why. He actually was, I believe, a Dragon Dance Tyranitar, meaning if he clicked Dragon Dance on my Cresselia dying, he pretty much just straight up won there, but he decided to get up his Stealth Rocks and instead. The only way I would have won in that situation, or had a chance to win, would have been if he missed the Stone Edge on my Kyurem coming in, as I got damage on it with Earth Power. And even if I did, or even if he did, like, it then came down to a 50-50 on whether or not Scolipede could knock it out with the Earthquake. So, well, I'd have to Protect on the first turn, and then it would be... Like, if I Protect on his Dragon Dance, then I'm screwed. If I Earthquake on his attack, then I'm screwed. If I Protect on his attack, then I'm good, and whatnot. So that was just a very, very close game. A very close game. So many different things could have gone so many different directions. His team prep was definitely very solid, despite him not expecting my Virizion. He made very aggressive plays early on that really benefited him, being able to cripple my Cresselia, being able to weaken my Gligar. He set himself up very nicely for the late game, but unfortunately, the situation kind of turned itself into my favor, kind of by chance, a little bit of luck involved, but really, it just absolutely incredible game. Like I said, check out his school in the description below, and I hope you're looking forward to next week. Next week, we're looking to get some revenge against Eric, aka Ashton Akai, who hacked us out in our PPL battle a couple seasons ago. So I hope you're looking forward to that, and thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you then.